is absent. Beth Graham. Here. Judy Cruz is absent. Jaspreet Kaur.
Here.
Oh, Board Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, let's get started with our silent meditation. Take a moment to focus our minds on the work we have ahead of us today. Next, I'll ask for approval of the minutes. The minutes from the August 28th meeting were sent in your packet ahead of time and should also be present at your place. Hopefully you all had a chance to review. Thank you.
I second.
Andrea. So we have a first from Beth and a second from Andrea. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, thank you. And next, we will move to public comments. So just a quick notation here. We have two separate sign-up sheets for public comments today. The first one is general public comments, as is routine for the Central Library. Anyone who has any comments that they want to share would sign up there. And the second sign-up was for the public hearing, agenda item number 23 and 22, which has to do with the UTSA study. So it looks like, thank you, Edward, for this information. It looks like no one signed up for public comments, part one, which is for the Public Library Board of Trustees meeting. So we will, as is routine, we will shift to online submitted comments and voicemail. So let's see, will you be playing the voicemail first or reading the online comments first?
Nicholas, read the online comment first, then I'll do the voice.
Okay, and before you start, Nicholas, just a reminder, since this is being live streamed via YouTube and will be available later, I just want to make a reminder to the public that when you are submitting information online or leaving a voicemail, it is a requirement to leave your name. So tonight we will be listening to a voicemail where a person did not follow the instructions, which is including your name, and I think that's totally fine. I don't want to nitpick over the process in which we are sharing that information, just an encouragement at the reminder from the city attorney to follow the procedure as closely as possible. So Nicholas, if you can read the submitted via website comments first.
Comment number one from Shirley Pacheco. I am not in favor of police in the libraries. I believe that in instances where security is necessary, the police may escalate the situation. From my observation, patrons that have security issues would benefit from redirection and not a police presence. The current security in libraries, I believe, is sufficient. The libraries would benefit from services available that they may direct patrons to, such as housing, mental health care. Libraries should be a place of enjoyment. Let's put our best minds in the city to provide an alternative to police presence. Respectfully, Shirley Pacheco.
That's the one, thank you.
The first voicemail is for regular public comments for the board.
Okay. Okay, no problem. Are we going to move agenda item?
Here at the Memorial Branch Library, we have the digital marquee, and it's been up there for the past, 2 years or so? But it's always the same old things that they, yes, good
Is that big
afternoon.
enough?
My name is Richard.
Let me troubleshoot it.
Public comment, for the public. Anyway, I wanted to mention to the board members, particular, the one for this, good afternoon. My name is Richard Garcia, and my comment has to do with public comment, for the public. Anyway, I wanted to mention.
Agenda item 23 and 24 for public hearing about staff report for presentation of the study plan entitled Improving Safety in the San Antonio Public Library. First and foremost, I would like to request that the library and its board representatives not move forward with this plan of putting more police officers in libraries. We've seen too many folks in our community and across the country and across the world, particularly folks of black and brown backgrounds and mentally ill backgrounds, die at the hands of police. Innocent lives have been impacted beyond those in the forms of police brutality and excessive force. And it's something that I would not like to see happen in our libraries, in our city, in our community. Beyond that, if the board does not agree to stop this program from being implemented, then I would request multiple community meetings seeking input on behalf of the library users and the citizens and non-citizens of San Antonio to provide public input before this plan being implemented and before the assessment even begins, so they can provide input on how to measure success of the program and provide any feedback against the program if necessary. Please translate my comment to Spanish as well. Thank you.
My comment has to do with public comments for the public. Anyway, I wanted to mention to the board members, in particular, the one for District 5, the board member, our concern is that here at the Memorial Branch Library, we have the digital marquee, and it's been up there for the past, 2 years or so, but it's always the same old things that they display, which I have nothing against, but after a while, when you've seen that movie so many times, 1,001 times, says, well, can they put something new? Like, for example, tomorrow, which is September, Wednesday, the 25th, they're having a speaker from the United States Attorney's Office and the DA's office. It's a community event. Why can't they display something like that on the digital marquee? So I guess my concern is that the same old movies they've been showing for the past 2 years or so at the Memorial Branch Public Library. Can you put up community events like, for example, I know we're in the political season. There's voting coming up. Have you something having to do with voter registration, or I know Memorial also is a voting site. Something different. I'm just saying, it's just same old thing, day in and day out, 7 days a week. So, but anyway, I would greatly appreciate some response regarding my concern about using the digital marquee to inform us, the public, the community, of current community events happening in our area. But if someone can please contact me, I would greatly appreciate it. I hope my concern doesn't fall on deaf ears. And my name is Richard Garcia.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you all for your patience as we work through those technical difficulties. Next, we will have a report from the Library Board Chair. And actually, I'm sorry, I apologize. In the interest of citizens that have traveled here in person to share their comments about the study plan for the improving safety in the San Antonio Public Library, I'm going to move forward agenda item number 23 unless there is some concern against me doing so. And this will be a staff report that Kathy Donlin, I think Kathy, you're going to introduce, and then we also want to have receive public comments in response to that. Thank you.
Good evening, Board. And so tonight we have a presentation prospectively of the plan that we're undertaking as a study in partnership with the University of Texas at San Antonio School of Social Work. So tonight's presentation, again, is to share with you the plan for this partnership study before we kick off that study. So I'll share with you first a little background. Then I'll move on to some team introductions, and with that, I'll introduce our UTSA partners as well as the city team for the project, and then our UTSA partners will present the research proposal. This will include a look at what the goal of the study is. There's various goals, what outcomes we want from this work, what the project methodology is particularly, and then really most importantly in my view is how we're going to make sure that the process is transparent starting with tonight, and then also the various steps that will be taken for community input to make sure that all voices are heard, staff, community, and stakeholders. And of course, at the end, if you have questions, we'll be happy as a team to try to answer those questions. So, by way of background, the Central Library had been closed in whole or in part for some period of time, both due to COVID. We had partial service during a lot of that time, and then due to some construction where we did improvements to the first and third floors. And so Central Library fully reopened on April 1st, 2023. Going on from that point in time, we started to notice a rise, meaning a rise over previous years when we were fully reopened, in serious incidents at the Central Library in particular. So we started to share some of that information about what was going on. We looked at our security protocols, and we embarked on a pilot project to have San Antonio Police Department officers at the Central Library for a limited number of rotating hours at Central to help us with incident response. This was intended to be a pilot. It lasted for 6 months, so it lasted from November 2023 and ended May 2024. During that time, we got feedback, both positive and negative, from the community, from staff, from others, about the pilot. And at the same time, we were looking at all the ways we could improve safety and security and promote violence prevention at the Central Library. So that's when we started talking with UTSA School of Social Work through the Office of Innovation about a potential formal study to help us with a couple of different objectives that'll be discussed here in a minute. The city has an agreement with UTSA for a variety of different types of research projects for different departments. And so we decided to leverage that relationship. And we recently, on September 20th, were able to formally kick off the project with the team I'm about to introduce. So, of course, tonight we quickly wanted to put together this public presentation. And again, the project has just kicked off, and this is to share with you the plan for what that looks like. So next, I'll introduce all the members of the team. You can see it's quite an extensive UTSA team as well as a city team. So Yelena Todic is a professor of social work at UTSA and is the person here with us tonight to help present this, who will be lead from UTSA. We also have Ian Johnson, assistant professor of social work at UTSA on the project, David Leha, who's a student who will be a research assistant, and Patrick Lloyd, who's a consultant and clinical assistant social work professor at UT Austin. So we have all those resources from the UTS team, and we're very grateful for them for their partnership on this project. From the library team, I'm serving as executive sponsor of the project. Jessica Zurita is assisting since she's responsible for facilities and security across the system as interim assistant director. Haley Holmes is staff lead as interim assistant to the director. Emerson Stanley, as you know, is our Central Library Public Services Administrator, so they are also on the project in a direct capacity. And then we wanted to make sure that from the library team, we had a variety of perspectives of different parts of the organization here at Central to contribute. So we have Kate Prazak, who's the Central Learn Manager, Jordan Torres, who's a Librarian 1 in Information Services, formerly known as Reference, here at Central, Kaylee Avila, who's a library assistant who's now with Texana in the building. And then we have another city partner who's also with us tonight, Maria Vargas Yates, who is the director of the Integrated Community Safety Office, which is a direct part of the city manager's office for safety outcomes for the community. So with that, I will turn it over to the UTSA team so they can share with you some specific information about the goals and objectives, and then also the plan going forward to make sure that we're getting robust input as this work goes along.
Hi. So I'm Ian Johnson. So the goal of the overall project is to conduct a needs assessment that incorporates the needs of staff, patrons, and the broader community to propose a comprehensive approach to safety at the Central Library. And we want to share that our specific goals are to create evidence of safety needs at the Central Library, to evaluate the extent to which the SAPD pilot accomplished the existing intended outcomes, and to engage staff, patrons, and the public in a transparent process of understanding the problem and identifying potential solutions to improving safety at the library. We plan to focus on improving safety using a two-part needs assessment approach. The first phase of the project will evaluate the effectiveness of the SAPD pilot project in achieving its intended goal of violence prevention. The specific outcomes that were identified prior to our involvement were the reduction of the number of assaults and other serious incidents, decreasing police response time to incidents that happen on site, and increasing staff's feelings and perceptions of safety. The second phase of the project is broader in scope and moves beyond evaluation of the pilot. In this second phase, we aim to identify our collective understandings of safety and imagine what actions to take to ensure safety within the library system. To get more into detail here, we will begin by analyzing existing data to assess the pilot's effectiveness and to understand the context surrounding its implementation. So from now until December, we will analyze 311 and 911 call data, emergency response records from police, fire department, and emergency response, library incidents reports, the midpoint and endpoint staff surveys that were a part of the evaluation project, as well as records of public comments made here at board meetings and the library complaint box. We plan to bring those preliminary findings back to staff, patrons, and community members for collective feedback and analysis. The feedback from those conversations will be integrated into a final report and evaluation of the SAPD project, as well as guide our guidelines for the second phase of this project. So in phase 2, that will begin at the beginning of the calendar year, we will start collecting new data to explore safety solutions beyond the pilot. We know that this data collection will include interviews and listening sessions with various affected parties. But based on the community engagement and feedback that we engage in part 1, we will be able to be flexible in what we add to those approaches. So that might include field observation here at the library, that might include a community advisory group formation, or other ideas that evolve and emerge. So through both of those processes, we will elicit continuous feedback from staff, patrons, and community members, and ensure that a multitude of voices are shaping the path forward.
Can you do the slide?
Sure.
Thank you, Ian, for that. Thanks for having us tonight to say a little bit more about what we're thinking and to get your input and answer questions. So a few things that are really important for us to name. As researchers, we have some choices around how we go about research. Different approaches get us different kinds of information to answer the questions that we have. And so in this case, we believe that the developmental evaluation meets the needs of the context and the project. And what that means is that the approach supports innovation by bringing data to inform and guide ongoing decision-making as a part of long-term development process. So earlier you've heard, next slide. Thank you. So earlier, Kathy introduced a little bit of, shared a few things about our team. So I want to just emphasize that our team includes 3 trained social workers with extensive practice experience and an advanced social work student, David Leha, who is here also tonight. In addition to that, our research team includes Ian and me. So in addition to being practitioners and social workers, we are trained as social work scholars and researchers in both quantitative, so statistics, and qualitative focus groups, interviews, and methods. And we're also trained in participatory action research as well. Those methods can sit in different kinds of paradigms, and so it's really important for us to be transparent, for you to understand how we actually frame those methods. And so as social workers, our professional values include social justice and center relationships. So we believe that relationships are critical mechanisms for social change, including how we conduct research. We also understand violence as a public health issue that requires trauma-informed approach grounded in structural analysis. And what that means to us is that we see violence as a result of multiple factors, including social, environmental, systemic, and biological stressors. A trauma-informed approach understands violence not as a reflection of individual morality, but as the result of conditions that include a combination of these factors. Prevention and then intervention must focus on addressing the root causes and the conditions that produce violence if we want to reduce harm and promote community well-being. So finally, I want to say something also about transformative justice as the last framework that influenced how we think about this particular needs assessment. In the context of this project, what that means to us is that we acknowledge the tensions of working within mutually reinforcing inequitable systems while also striving to do several really important things to us. One is that we strive to ensure that we listen to all voices, especially those who are traditionally excluded from the decision-making processes that impact their well-being. That we explicitly acknowledge and seek to reduce power imbalances in all interactions and decision-making on this project. We approach every situation with sensitivity to cultural context, respecting and honoring diverse perspectives and experiences of people involved in this project. And over time, which is why we're excited that this project is going to run through May, this needs assessment, is that we strive to create conditions that enable right relationships that are grounded in respect for life and dignity and support the growth for everyone who's going to be involved in the project with us. We also value the wisdom, the strength, and the resilience of participants and communities in the project, which to us, that means that we recognize that lived experiences are actually a key resource for change we want to see in our communities. A few more things to highlight, and then we're happy to take your questions and answer them. We also understand that individual and community well-being are interconnected, which requires a holistic approach to addressing issues in the community. And finally, we are hoping that we are advancing this project as an ongoing effort that contributes to life-affirming conditions for all at the Central Library, but also broadly to our San Antonio community. And with that, we thank you for having us here tonight, and we're happy to answer any questions as well to take your input and include it in how we move the project forward.
So what is the timeline? So phase one, you're looking at what the pilot program's impact was. What is the timeline for engagement with the library patrons and citizens and staff and all the people that you think are necessary to contribute?
Other questions are emerging from that that are going to be important for the second phase. Because of the timeline, we are starting with secondary data also because we think it's really important to actually understand what we have before we start including additional data in the process, which we also think is really important. In the budget that we put together, we included actually resources for community engagement as well. And Ian mentioned that potentially we see what emerges from the phase
advisory committees, wherein the team currently includes only UTSA and the library and not officially committee engagement. So we have in our budget actually included a line that if we move into that direction based on our recommendations and when we get to these sessions, we will also be able to have an advisory committee that influences the second phase of the project.
And if I could just add one more piece to that answer, which is, of course, we've already been receiving input through your public meetings. We've also done 2 rounds of surveys with the staff. So we began that, some months ago, basically, when we started having the discussions and these public meetings. So all of that has also been documented and will provide, information as well. So we really have begun that input process, and then it's going to become, more robust as the project goes along in the ways that Dr. Tojic just described.
Thank you, Kathy, for that addition. What we hope to have at the end of May is actually a comprehensive proposal that includes all of these pieces of information. Of course, there's a sense of urgency to act faster. We just think that with such a complex situation, with so many needs and different stakeholders, it's really important to actually take time to both understand what's happening, but also what the potential solutions are beyond the automatic response in order to move forward with actually a comprehensive solution. We are excited particularly about Office of Innovation's interest in this project because it is about finding new ways to think about problems in our community.
One more follow-up. I know that we've received a lot of public engagement already, and you're going to look through all of that. When we have those public meetings, is there going to be some outreach? Because we do have some people who have been very vocal in coming to our meetings and being represented, and I want to make sure that that representation doesn't go away. So is there a way to continue the outreach to our people who have taken the time to come and speak, whether it's in person or physically or written comment?
Comment that's absolutely within our capacity to recruit from folks who have already been in those public sessions, and thanks.
Absolutely, and also to add, one of the reasons why we have a GRA on this project is exactly to do intensive work around recruitment and community engagement. So thank you for that question.
Questions from trustees?
I have a question. I understand that the SAPD pilot project was originally begun in response to a number of urgent situations that occurred in the Central Library. I also understand that social work is of necessity a more gradual process, and I realize that this is the beginning of the study, but I'm really interested to know how those two needs can be merged and met, how we can take steps to prevent, as happened, somebody kicking one of our staff in the head, and how you see that working out.
In our kind of initial meetings with Kathy and the rest of the library team, we've really found our group needed to hold space for the urgency here, and there are staff members who are feeling unsafe, and that is urgent. And I think one of the things that we're hoping for with a really engaged process is that the process itself helps staff feel safer, and the process itself kind of engages people in the issue and conversations directly about the issue with outside help to be there. So as social workers, I think we see our role as researchers in the community as both folks who are attentive to that process and hoping that that process will in itself be healing, as well as creating an outcome. So, but I think there's a lot of complexity to the issue as we've been discussing. I think you're spot on that we're kind of at this crossroads where we need complex response and a lot of understanding for the issue requires time to figure out. So.
I know that our community has its unique needs. I would just be interested to find out what other major urban libraries are doing around the nation, and I don't know if that's going to be included in your...
Question, actually. So part of our findings will integrate what we learn from our own process here with what we know from other places. Other libraries are wrestling with these issues. People are approaching this in innovative ways, and we're looking to see how those ways are working. People have done everything from placing social workers to restorative justice processes through partnerships between people with lived experience and social services. I mean, there's just many sort of experimental approaches to what people are handling, how people are approaching the situation. So part of our goal is to actually integrate that, but also integrate what wisdom and community knowledge tells us here is needed. We can also certainly share some of the national trends earlier than the end of the month, and if that would be helpful for the board to see before, and also for the public, we would be more than happy to prepare sort of a summary, a brief of what the literature tells us about current approaches. From social work, we know that this is an emergent field for us in the past 10 years or so. Increasingly, social workers and librarians are partnering to address some of these larger needs. We also want to think beyond social work. We think that communities also have all sorts of amazing ways of staying safe and supporting each other. And so we're thinking about longer term solutions than only social workers. So for example, I have practiced social work in academic medical settings for a really long time. Social workers kind of become the default for all sorts of different things. It's like, okay, we're going to give this thing to a social worker, when in fact we all need to be skilling up and thinking about how are we in relationships with each other, how do we respond to each other's needs. And so we want to also move away from this idea that if we only place a social worker in the library, somehow that's going to solve these complex issues. Although social workers could be part of the solution, and also what we've seen from the community requests is people are asking to consider that as an option. So we are certainly going to be looking into that as one of the answers, but we'd like to imagine beyond even just social work, right? How can we move beyond policing social work to a more comprehensive way of thinking about safety and meeting each other's needs? Yeah, we're happy to do that. Yeah, prepare a brief that summarizes the literature. That's a great idea. Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you. We're highly anticipated this partnership and being able to work together. I have not so much a question, but just a couple of comments that I want to share with you and the library team. With respect to gathering additional first-party data, whether it's surveys or interviews, I would love to have lots of transparency about when those meetings will occur and how members of the public and members of our stakeholder communities could be a part of it. So this is kind of a blanket statement as you're doing your planning, if we can publish those within the timeline and maybe identify those as milestones so that if someone's maybe not available your first session of interviews, they can plan to spread the word within their community or plan for it to attend a second or third opportunity. Communication and transparent communication with not only our staff and our patrons, but also other members of the community that may not take advantage of library services today, but might be considering it in the future is very important to this board. And so just kind of a blanket statement, let's communicate and let people know where to be or where to write or where to send their carrier pigeons with notes if that's their channel of choice. And then again, just want to express my gratitude. Thank you, Kathy, you and your team. Getting this contract together was something very important to the board to be able to bring about a more thoughtful approach to how we're addressing this situation, which sometimes, depending on who you talk to, feels like a binary, choice that something happens and we need to react to it. and we want to ensure that we are giving this the time and space and an intellectual thought that it needs to really have the ability to lead in this space as a library branch. So thank you so much for that. And next, we'll move to the next portion of our agenda, which is receiving public comment on the presentation that was presented. This was essentially the plan for the plan. So this was the study plan. The title of the project, just to reiterate, is Improving Safety in the San Antonio Public Library, Central Library, but of course, our learnings will not be limited just to Central Library. We'll expand that however it makes sense. So I want to first, I think, Edward, we received one voicemail and you played it already. Were there any online comments for this agenda item? Okay, so there are 5 people who have signed up to speak on behalf of this agenda item. The first 2 actually, I don't know if this is, the first 2 actually are UTSA presenters. Okay, so was that an error? Okay, just want to confirm, because the first name is Ian Johnson, and I think, okay, and then Professor Todick. Okay, I'll mark those out. So I have 3 remaining public comments. I'll invite the first one to the podium, and just a reminder that you have 3 minutes to speak. Nicholas will give you a timer so you know how much time is left. And if there's anyone else in the audience that came here with the intention to share public comments but did not sign up or maybe did not know the process of signing up, please come see Edward and we can get you signed up. The first person is Deborah Watts.
My name is Deborah Watts, and I'm speaking up for SA4, and I'm also a member of TOPS organization. We are speaking up and so anything because we want to make sure that everybody's safe in the library and so anything and secure, and make sure that nobody gets hurt and so anything, you know, because some people are SSI like I am. And I turn around and end up making sure and so anything that when I come to the library, I go and use the computer or turn around and end up going to the see about the books and everything over there. But anyway, I want to know why would it be something that police would have to do and so anything, you know, and so anything unless a person would be not taking their medication or something, you know, and so anything, because when some people take their medication, they turn around and they schizophrenic, bipolar, and so that thing, you know, because they didn't take their medicine the way that they supposed to. But and then some people, they come in there and steal. I know that they have tapes and DVDs in here and so that thing, and books and so that thing, but I know that they have to go right straight toward the desk first before they turn around and end up, you know, going in there to see about things. But anyway, it's not necessary with having to do with, you know, if you're doing some kind of drugs or you know, stuff like that. It's just a mental cycle and so that thing. And then some people over here and so that thing, you know, they might not be getting along with somebody, you know, up here and so that thing. So you never know what kind of situation you're gonna run into and so that thing. You know, you never know how anything's gonna be and so that thing, you know, or how anything's gonna react. But anyway, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Next, Hade Pacheco.
First, I want to say thanks for moving it to earlier. So again, y'all know I'm here to speak about this program. As a community member, the first thing I want to ask is that the assessment of this program hosts some info sessions, multiple community info sessions on this program and how it's going to work, basically something like this with a Q&A, so that the community has a little bit more understanding on how this is going to work, because we deserve to know how this process is going to go. As a member of this community that loves the library and understands the importance of its role in the community, providing access to knowledge and resources, I have to say that I wish y'all would just abandon this program. As a community member, I'm asking you just to abandon this program. You talked about that staff member. We want everyone to be safe too. We feel there are better ways to safety than the police, and the real reality is that they will not address the root cause. You know, whoever hurt that staff member was arrested, processed, whatever, it didn't address the root cause of what happened. They probably end up back in the library within a year or two. So I want us to be able to address some root causes. I know the library can't do everything, but crime happens when basic needs go unmet, and this is a place for resources, and that's what it should be. Cops are a barrier to that. I would also ask the assessment team, first of all, I'm unsure on how this is going to be an accurate representation of the impact of the police, because this program happened in the mildest months of the year, and we do know, you can check the research, that heat waves and high heat affect the instances of crime and violence, the levels of violence in crime. So this program was not any point during that. So I do hope that it is noted that this happened in the mildest months of the year, ended as the hottest months were beginning. So if it looks like, oh, okay, as soon as the program ended, the crime went through the roof or doubled or whatever, we have to take into account the heat is part of it. And we're in a housing crisis, and this is a place where people take shelter from inclement weather. So again, I hope that you have multiple info sessions for the community on this program, and you include the community in this. Furthermore, that the assessment of the general safety, the program that y'all are starting at the beginning of the year includes safety alternatives to police in general. There are plenty of safety options, and we have brought some to the library. Community de-escalation workshops hosted by the library, the social worker in the library. There are things like Grandmas in the Library who they are a program
Thank you. That
of
was 3 minutes.
de-escalation. So thank you.
Next is Matthew Stevenson.
I'm with a group that is called Act for SA, and I know my story's going to get a little personal, so if you could bear with me, and I appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to speak tonight. I experienced a period of homelessness during a transition period in my life. Some of my barriers that I have to communicating with others include social anxiety and a type A personality disorder. These disabilities alone make it extremely difficult for me to communicate with others and communicate my needs. The library during this period of my homelessness was not only a lifeline to the information that I needed in order to overcome my situation, but was also a means of connecting and communicating with my friends, doctors, and family members just to let them know that I was okay through this situation. The library was also a place of sanctuary where the stresses of getting overwhelming. The library was a place where I knew I could be quiet and soothing for my anxiety. Law enforcement presence is a trigger to many with the issues that I have. The authority that is attached to that uniform and that badge is an instant visual trigger that is unnecessary to a facility that is accessible to all individuals and accommodating to all in the community it serves. Barriers to access to information not only help a community that is desperately struggling to help a community that has many individuals in need, and we know crime happens when basic needs are not being met. Barriers to access of information perpetuates the struggles of not being able to connect to the programs and services that can change that individual's pathway to success. I believe continual discussions on these alternatives to the particular program of armed, ununiformed officers, city and taxpayer assets tied up in a facility that is considered accessible to the public it serves. The public demands are to host multiple info sessions about assessments processed during the program and to commit to abandon the program altogether. Thank you.
And finally, we have Penny.
Hi, I'm Penny King. I am a resident of the east side of San Antonio, and I also run comms for Act4SA, and I think I wanted to share a little bit of like what comms means and like what brings me here to ask, to end the program, to have armed cops in the library. But on a daily basis, my job is to watch people that look like me be cast out of a lot of different spaces. And look like me is relative because, like, in many different spaces, I'm norm, like I'm the norm. And so, yeah, I just want to say, I appreciate what I was hearing from the team. I think it means a lot to open up these conversations, and these are conversations that do go on for years, and should move us, I feel, out of our fear of reaction, of violence, of not having the right answers to things all the time. Yeah, to keep it short and sweet, ultimately, I don't like cops. I don't want them in my libraries. And I do appreciate these ongoing conversations, and I'm asking also to continue the transparency as best as you can, because that is that will humanize us to each other and engage with each other. And we can see successes that we can both cheer for. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for continuing to show up and share your voices. We do very much appreciate that. Okay, next, we are going to now go back to our regular agenda. So we will pick up with agenda item number 2, report from the library board chair. I will be as quick as possible here. On September 16th, 2024, I sent a letter to Mayor and to the City Council in support of the FY 2025 budget for the Library Department. I appreciate very much Joanne Harris's leading of the Budget Committee and all of the work that the Budget Committee did on behalf of the board to prep us and prep the team, the library team, for adoption of the budget. Recently, Fernanda Cardenas, Josie Martinez, and I were reappointed to the San Antonio Public Library Board of Trustees. And then I also want to share a reminder with fellow trustees that on Saturday, October 5th, from 9 a.m. to noon, the city clerk is going to be offering training on Robert's Rules of Orders. A great opportunity if you are not familiar with the process, or maybe you are like me and just need a refresher because it's been a while since you've sat in on that. I'll encourage all of you to attend if you can, and if you need additional assistance on like getting this onto your calendar, just reach out to Edward and he can help you RSVP for the event. Next, I'd like to hear from trustees regarding any library-related events. Can I start with you, Marianne?
I'm sorry, just, what did you just say?
Any library-related events that you'd like?
Yes. I'm sorry, I did go to Bazan Library on September 10th. They were having some Hispanic heritage program, so that was it.
I didn't get to do too much, but besides the committee meetings, but I know Hispanic Heritage Month started last week, and I know LCRC is having some events, so I hope to make it to some of those in the next coming weeks.
So I was fortunate enough to attend the closing ceremony of, or I guess it was maybe not a ceremony, but of Bajo La Sal. And it was amazing. Kayla Padilla did a great job moderating the discussion between the two artists. And I really want to recognize them, Maro de la Tierra, if I'm saying right, and Joshua Anthony Rodriguez. And, you know, they were talking about the art and the people, and then Kayla hit them with we're in the Central Library. Tell me about your experience with the library. And although these two artists came from completely different backgrounds, their love of the library was exactly the same. They both may have used it for different things. Model talked about using it as a safe space when he was in high school. He went to school near here at SASIC, and he talked about coming here and spending a lot of time at the library. And then Joshua talked about how he was an avid library user. He would go and check out books from a very young age. And it was really funny because he said, starting this project and getting this grant, he realized he had not renewed his library card. So the day that he got, it was either the day or the week or somewhere around the time he went to SEMS and he renewed his library card because he wanted to pick it up again and go back to, you know, enjoying the reading in the library. So I just want to say it was amazing. They gave a shout out to the library as well. And the team that put it together did an amazing job.
In addition to the committee work, I was able to get some feedback from some patrons of the IGO library that's under construction, and got some very positive feedback that they were very happy with the curbside service. It allowed them to not miss a beat. They were still able to, you know, put materials on hold and go and pick them up at the location that's convenient to them. So I thought that was really good feedback.
Okay, besides the committee meetings and things that I did go to and attend, I wanted to make you aware that the Carver Branch Library on October the 5th is hosting the San Antonio Black International Film Festival again, and it was really good last year. And I had another experience. I was on a Zoom call with a group of women, and one of the women were having a surgery and then going into rehab, and we all are single. And so she said, well, I'm gonna do fine. I have my laptop and she's 89. And she said, but I have my Libby. And I said, oh, great. And then she talked about, I have all of my books on my laptop and everything, and then that got us into talking about the library and renewing their cards and what is available, and so I was really excited about that.
I can't hear anything I said. Should I start over? Okay. So I attended the breakfast, and I always have to report on our library activities, and it's always a very interesting meeting. I went to the foundation fundraiser, the Repelling, and I've got some great pictures of Scott. And his kids, they were just so excited to watch him repelling. I mean, they were losing it, But I got some cute pictures of them, so I probably need to get, everyone was taking pictures of you, but I have some if you need some. Anyway, that was fun to watch. That was really fun. Scary, but really fun. I attended a storytelling session at Briscoe Museum and featuring singer Ray Benson, and he sings with Asleep at the Wheel, and they have wonderful programs at the Briscoe Museum. And I want to say that now in our little portal, there's a big sign that indicates that that's San Antonio Public Library. So I think a lot of people had no idea before that what that room was in there. So I just wanted to give them a shout out. The last thing is I've listened to 3 books, audio books, since our last meeting. And I listened to What This Comedian Said Will Shock You, and I listened to In My Time of Dying, and I'm just finishing up a wonderful book called James by Percival Everett, who is the story of Jim and Huck, and it's from his point of view, from Jim's point of view. Fantastic book. So that's my report.
I like that. I think we ought to all have to make a report on what we've read and where we got it. In addition to my committees, on September 22nd, I attended a campaign event and spoke with the candidate for my precinct for County Commissioner's Court about the library. So I'm getting it in early.
I unfortunately didn't get to attend too much this month, but did attend the committee meetings, budget meeting. I don't remember what. Yes.
Facilities. Thank you, Marcy. I forgot about all of the budget-related meetings that we attended before. Kathy and I also attended the District 8 Budget Town Hall, which was very interesting. And I was really pleased that Councilman Playas and Mayor Nuremberg also posed with their new library card for me. I thought that was a fun little thing that they did as well. So it's still library card sign up for a few more days. So don't forget, if you haven't gotten your new library card, to go out and tell your friends to get one as well. And also, since Marcy started a new tradition of sharing what she's read, I wanted to give a shout out to the team that's been working on the No Holds weekend. I took advantage of that a couple weeks ago. I had kind of what I would call like a guilty mom, trash kind of read, but it was really enjoyable, and I loved that. And I probably would have never gotten around to even putting my name on the holds list, because sometimes I see that it's pretty high up, and I'm like, never mind. So that was a real treat. So thank you to the team that's been doing that. Next, we'll receive the update from Kathy, the interim library director.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm reading is a textbook on information-seeking behavior. It's a real page-turner. Actually, it is kind of good. Okay, so for the library system, we had our last staff in-service day of the year, so this is the day where we close the library for 4 hours, with your permission. And we do staff training. So our series of trainings across the year, and it'll be continued next year, is regarding trauma-informed care. And so that's leading up to a certification for the department in trauma-informed care. So it was a very successful day. Also, we received our accreditation for 2025 from the Texas State Library and Archives Commission. It is a probational accreditation, and that's mainly due to a timing issue, which briefly, you have to have a certain number of unique service hours across your schedule, and so we made a change this year that will allow us to have full accreditation starting the next cycle of accreditation. So not necessarily a red flag, doesn't affect anything for us, but we had to make that change to move on to full accreditation. We're also obviously have many, many activities going on with Hispanic Heritage Month, and we'll provide more of a recap of that in our next report. We are participating in Banned Book Week this week, which started back in 1982, and it really is a reminder how important it is to have the freedom to read. And so we're participating in a couple of different ways in that week. Our children's area in this building on the 3rd floor has fully reopened. You may recall we had some issues with some ceiling tiles in the area. We've corrected the issue that was causing that. We do still have some repairs to make, but we've been able to safely reopen the area. And then upcoming on October 19th at 10:30 a.m., we will be having the Great Northwest Branch Library 30th anniversary. And so you have an invitation at your place. It's on a yellow kind of card stock, and we'll also be mailing you that invitation. But that anniversary event is coming up soon. Thank you.
And I'm getting used to the new director's report and really enjoying it, so I'll share that feedback. Any questions for Kathy?
Yeah, could we hear a little bit more about the trauma-informed care, just briefly the content? That sounds like a very interesting program.
Actually, let me ask Haley to give some background. She has a lot more depth of knowledge than I do about that.
So this is an initiative with the City of San Antonio and wanting all city departments to become trauma-informed certified. It's a partnership with Metro Health and the UT Health System. So they provide training. There are some required trainings that staff will have to do eventually. What we've been doing in our in-service are not required, but just making sure that our staff understand what trauma-informed care is. So it's looking through the perspective of, instead of what's wrong with you, what happened to you. So getting behind improving relationships with our coworkers and with our patrons through that framework. And so throughout the year, we're going to continue to have these sessions. The first one we did was with Metro Health, and then the one we had on September 13th was through the UT Health System. And it was a really great session. Folks from our organizational health unit met with the presenter in advance to make sure that she was talking in a way that our staff would understand, because we have such a broad spectrum of employees, so from different levels, different backgrounds, different departments, and then also to allow staff to understand why this is important for us from the library perspective. And she did an excellent job of connecting all of those dots. So that's, I think, it in a nutshell.
So it's psychological and emotional trauma, not physical trauma?
Any kind of trauma. We don't really, in the process, the point is not to bring up trauma or to make people uncomfortable, but to have a greater understanding of one another, and that we've all been through things in our lives. And it can be cultural, it can be weather events. I mean, it can be so many different things that we've all experienced, and some of them we've gone through together, like COVID. So recognizing that we all have things that we've gone through that have shaped us into who we are. And so when you approach someone, and just for an example, if we have a behavioral issue in the library, how you approach someone can be very different if you're coming from this understanding.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kathy and her team?
I'm impressed. Sounds like really innovative training, and I'm impressed to see that the library is taking these kinds of steps.
Yeah, go
ahead,
and I had another thing. And the library's initiative, which I didn't know about, but that initiative's where they, in every library in the city, the men's as well as the female bathrooms will have female products in there. And so I was really, that it's a city-known type of item that they're doing. And so they called me because it was in the men's bathroom. What are they trying to say about the men and this and that? But then, when it was explained to me, I understand now. And they understood, so maybe some of the others might not know, and someone will ask you about it.
Very inclusive step, and I echo your sentiment. I'm very proud that the library is leading in all aspects, including that. So I think that's great. I wanted to just say congratulations on the 8 million checkout, well, 8.6 million checkout circulation, way higher than the target. That seems like something to celebrate. I don't know how you celebrate that. Maybe check out a few books, but it seems really exciting.
Is that both
So I
audio
think
and
that's great.
books? Is that both audio and books? Or is it just books?
Yeah, it looks like overall total circulation, yeah, so I think that's great, up 10%, so that's really awesome. And I was curious about the Wi-Fi numbers that went down, and I noticed that you mentioned a note, but maybe you could just also share that as well.
Yes, so we are seeing a dip in some of our hours of technology use numbers. We are working with our IT department because we did have a change out of some equipment, the access points for the Wi-Fi. So we are working with them to see if this might be more of a counting issue versus a real dip in use. So we will need to kind of keep you posted on that one because we're still in progress figuring that out. It may be a difference moving forward in how we're counting the use of the Wi-Fi, so we may have to provide you with some updates about what that's going to look like.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you for that. And then one last comment that I had, it has to do with Learn at SAPL, which continues to be like very innovative and great programming. I am curious for Las Palmas if we have a plan for the layout of the technology-related equipment at the Learn at SAPL area, in light of the fact that we received some money specifically to benefit that space. I'm curious if we know what layout we're going to use or if that design is pending.
It is done. The construction actually of the walls is done for the space, so I can certainly share kind of a floor plan with the board with the furniture plan on it to show the technology, or we could present it next month if you'd like.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. I think wherever there's opportunities, since it's a new branch and we have money earmarked for it, I think it's a great opportunity for us to like pause and just evaluate, do we have the best equipment? Especially if you're designing it from scratch, as opposed to, retrofitting other.
Okay, yeah, we can absolutely share some information at next month's board meeting.
Is that, excuse me, is that 1,100 hours of, 1,100 patron visits? Is that just for the month? Because that's really impressive.
page
For
is that?
Learn at SAPL, sorry.
Oh, Learn. Oh.
That is really impressive.
On page 13? Mhm. Yeah, maybe Kathy can check with her team and Morgan has a quick answer for us.
Thank you, Morgan.
Yeah.
Under Learn, right? Okay, so yeah, that's for the month. That's that. So we now have 7. I can never count. We now have 7 open Learn at SAPL locations that offer service. The branches are 5 days a week, Central is 6 days a week. And so with Central being one of our Learn locations, yeah, Learn sees a lot of folks. So it's, a very, very well-used program.
Now that you asked that question, Beth and Paul, I wonder if it makes sense, Kathy, for us for the staff to report for us Learn at SAPL as another key indicator that has its own line, because that's a really impressive volume, and I think it could get missed just in the text part of the report.
We can definitely add it as one of the measures in the quantitative report.
Yeah,
Yep.
that would be great. Thank you. Next, we have the budget report for August 2024.
Good afternoon, board members and board chair. Happy almost end of the fiscal year. This is our last full week. So fiscal office is busy, following up on things, trying to get things closed out, make sure all of our expenses are posted. And so I'm here to give you the briefing on the August 2024 Library Operating Budget Report, where 92% of the fiscal year had elapsed, and we were at 91% spent with encumbrances, or 89% without it. So same story as last month. We're slightly behind on spending, but we still have 1 month left, and we do a lot of spending in the last month where we notice savings and we redirect. Hopefully sometimes we get to spend more on library resources where there may be patron holds or digital content that's wanted. We are seeing some savings in electricity, and we do have some savings from our prior year PCR carry forward. So that's reflective in these numbers. The 2024 major gifts from the Foundation and the Friends are at about 92% spent as well. So we're moving along with those donated monies. And that's basically my report. But if y'all have any questions on anything specific, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Next, a report from the Executive Committee. I want to formally thank Joanne Harris for presiding over Executive Committee meeting in my place. I was traveling to San Francisco last week. The committee did meet on September 17th and set the agenda for today's meeting. Next, a report from the Advocacy Committee. Judy? Okay, thank you. And then next, a report from the Budget Committee. Ms. Harris? Did you meet on September 4th? Or?
I thought the exact same thing, Joanne, and they said, yes, you did meet on September 4th, so Haley can give a report. It was a quick meeting.
Help us, Haley, because too much is going on these days and can't remember what happened.
Yes.
Last meeting of the 24 fiscal year of the Budget Committee took place on September 4th. And at that meeting, Kathy gave an overview of the library's budget presentation to City Council that occurred on September 3rd. And in that presentation, she gave an overview of the library, the improvements included in the fiscal year 25 proposed budget, our performance measures, an overview of our new strategic plan, talked about the ILA with Bexar County, and introduced the library card campaign, which happened to kick off that day. And Board Chair Kaur then presented remarks to Council. I was happy to be there to hear all of the wonderful comments that the council members made about the library. It was very heartening. And they were also very excited about the library card campaign, and several of them mentioned wanting to get the new designs. At the meeting, Gabby then gave a timeline for the rest of the year for the budget schedule, and of course, all of that is now passed, but leading up to the adoption of the proposed budget to City Council on September 19th. And then lastly, Kathy gave the next steps, which included drafting the letter on behalf of the board chair to be sent to the mayor and City Council. And later in today's meeting, Kathy will give an update on the approved fiscal year 25 library operating and capital budget.
Next, we have a report from the Facilities Committee. Andrea?
The Facilities Committee did not meet.
And next, report from the Naming Committee. Josie Martinez is not here, but I've been informed that they did not meet. And next, a report from the Nominating Committee. Andrea?
So the nominating committee did meet several times. I do not have the dates, but we did meet to establish a call order, and then we met twice to establish a slate, and that will be agenda item 22 coming up.
Next, a report from the Ad Hoc Board Policy Committee.
We did meet, and we reviewed the minors and vulnerable adults policy during our meeting, with recommendations to follow.
And next, a report from the Ad hoc Executive Search Committee.
We did meet on September 12th and September 18th, and we have some information in executive session.
Okay, thank you. And then the report from the Ad hoc ILA Committee. The committee did meet on September 17th, and I don't believe there's any additional information to share.
Madam Chair, sorry, I don't have a question, but I did just want to say that I watched both Kathy's and your presentations to City Council, your budget presentations on TVSA, and I wanted to compliment you both on the work that you did. It was obvious there was a lot of thought put into those presentations, and I thought they were outstanding, so thank you.
Beth, I totally agree. I might be biased, but I really feel the library team did an amazing job, not in comparison, but just overall. Over the years, the team has just really honed the skill of presenting at budget, and I was very impressed with that as well. Next, we have a report from Friends of the San Antonio Public Library. Mr. John Costello.
Good afternoon, or I guess it's now evening, trustees. We are very excited. We have a new manager for the bookseller. We found the ideal candidate. It's a gentleman by the name of Ben DeRocher. He formerly was a manager for Half Price Books. Exactly, that was about it. We thought it was too good to be true, but no, he has come on board. And in addition to that, he also did work with their online fulfillment. So he brings that experience to also help our volunteers that are putting together that. So we're thrilled. So if you're down there, make sure you say hello to him. He's very excited. He's got great ideas on what to do to improve the bookseller. So we are also working on our 60th anniversary campaign. As you may remember, in 1964, the Friends were founded. So we're going to be celebrating our anniversary during National Friends Week, which is October 20th through 26th. And what we have decided to do is combine that with our membership recruitment campaign. So because membership will be up at the end of the year. So we're going to be focusing on that. Plus, we are going to go after our lapsed members to try to increase our roles. And as part of this campaign, we're going to be developing a new logo to celebrate the 60th anniversary. And our goal is also to make sure this logo then can be adapted past 60 years. So, and I will say it, I want to get rid of the Alamo logo that we have now. It's very 1960s, and we need to move on. So as part of our campaign, for those branches that are going to be hosting early voting, we're encouraging them to set up membership tables during them because you have a captive audience, a large captive audience. So, because I believe there are 13 of our branches are hosting early voting. So, and they're some of the most popular early voting sites. So we're excited about that. Additionally, we have a new revenue opportunity. In meeting with Kathy and Haley, they proposed, and I excitedly accepted this, a merchandising opportunity, because oftentimes when the city comes out with their new shirts for staff, people want to know where they can buy them, and they cannot buy them because the library cannot sell things. So we are going to partner with the library to develop a line of merchandise that we can sell through the bookseller, and the profits will be able to go back to the library as part of our annual gift. So we're excited about that, and so Scott and I are already talking, so it's going to be, we're going to have some really creative things that we can offer. Then just a reminder that Monday, September 30th is the deadline for the Arts and Letters Awards nominations. We have several nominations already, and thank you, Marcy, for sending in one. And so it's not too late. The more the merrier. And reminder that the ceremony will be on November 10th at Mission Library. And then the last thing is this coming Sunday, September 29th, we'll be having our board meeting at Collins Gardens. Any questions?
Question, but just a comment. I love your entire update. It was wonderful. And we'll have to talk after. I went to a conference last week, and these enamel pins are like all the rage now. So if you're designing a new logo, I think my vote is
Well, and
order
it's
some pins.
It's interesting you bring up that because we've already received our first draft of logos, and we had 6 of them. And that was something I was looking at. It's like, some of them are wonderful, but if I shrink them down, it's going to be not even an ink blot. So that is something to keep in mind, and Scott and I.
You need the enamel pin test.
Yes,
Will it look
exactly.
good on a pin?
And, sadly, not everyone thinks about that. So, but thank you for that.
Thank you, John. Next, we have a report for San Antonio Public Library Foundation, and that will be Denise Liedka. Welcome, Denise. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. We had a successful Over the Edge event on Saturday. Mr. McCary kicked it off as the first person to go 20 stories down on the Broadway bank rope. In total, we had 50 rappellers that went over. We had Media Day that went over Friday. We don't have the final numbers, but the estimate is that it will net about the same amount as Katrina Ball did last year, with a little bit less effort. So this was a solid first-year event that will only grow. And I wanted to say thank you to all of you who helped lower a librarian and support the foundation one story at a time. We received a ton of great press. We had KINS 5, KABB, WOAI, as well as Instagram influencers and other social media buzz. So we were excited about that. It's still playing online, so you can see all the video. Marcy, you can tag us online so we can share your photos. We are looking forward to our next Over the Edge event on May 16th, 2026, likely at the Thompson Hotel again. So if you had a really great time, like Haley, you can do it again. But we don't have contracts signed yet. So just a reminder, the date for Katrina Ball next year is November 1st, 2025, and the likely location is the Tobin Center due to the extra cost and difficulties that come with holding the event at Central Library. Again, no contracts are signed, but we're investigating other locations, and so far the Tobin is currently running ahead of the pack. Our nominating committee is finishing up its work and is happy to be adding high-level representatives from Holt, SAWS, CPS, HEB, and Valero. Our recruiting focus this year was larger corporate board members. Let's see. Our 2025 budgeting process is almost complete, and we will be able to announce the library gift at your October meeting. Our 2025 budget will be voted on October 16th.
Mr. McCary is fine. He's not here tonight. I just wanted to mention he's at a conference. So.
Everyone who went over the edge.
Ready to go out of town.
Yeah.
She went over first. He went over, second. So, but we did have a special VIP drop-in. So we had a special appearance by Smarty. So everyone was thrilled. So.
Nice, awesome.
Smarty's.
Technically, Smarty did go over. That particular person had 2 jobs that day.
Yeah.
How many repellers did you end up with?
Up with about 50 repellers.
Wow, that's awesome. That's great.
I was early when this signed up, at least to the team, donate a little bit to get in there. And then my mom wanted to have her 93rd birthday in Rockport on that same weekend. So we still send a nice donation from our family. But,
That's a good excuse, Paul. We'll allow it. Yeah.
It was much appreciated, all of your support. We changed it just for your mom's birthday, so thank you. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, next we have agenda item number 17, staff report. Staff report, summer with SAPL review and update on back-to-school programs. know the password for this.
Board Chair, Trustees, and Interim Library Director. So I'm not presenting. I'm actually just introducing Morgan Yoshimura, who's going to be presenting. Summer with SAPL, of course, is for all ages. So Morgan, as you know, is the coordinator of services for adults. I just want to say she had very little time to prepare for this because Crescencia Huff was planning to present today, but she was unexpectedly not able to be at work today. So I know Morgan's going to do a great job anyway, and I probably didn't even need to say that, but I know when I'm presenting with short notice, I kind of like people to know. So that being said, and Jennifer Velasquez is here as well. So between the three of us, I think if you have any questions about children, we can cover those.
Thank you, Dale, and thank you again, trustees and interim library director. I'm just going to be reading off a script more than I usually would. This presentation was very skillfully prepared by Crescencia, so she left me in a great place. So, as Dale mentioned, Summer with SAPL is what we offer every summer for all ages, and every summer it requires a tremendous amount of work and resources. So I'm excited to share with you how things went this past summer, which is June and July, as we invited our entire community to engage with the San Antonio Public Library in a variety of activities. Most activities were for specific age groups, and others were open to all ages, but we do offer something for everybody from 0 all the way up to folks in their mid-90s. So. And of course, this would not be possible without the generous funding that we receive for Summer with SAPL, which this year came from AT&T and Burler Endowments, the Najim Foundation, HEB, Dollar General, all of which come through the San Antonio Public Library Foundation. And we were also able to utilize some of our general fund budget thanks to Kathy's efforts. And Summer with SAPL aligns with our strategic plan goals of enhanced library services and programs to foster more meaningful connections with the community and cultivating a portfolio of partnerships to extend the library's reach in the community. While we keep careful track of our programming statistics and the number of incentives given to participants, we also examine our interactions with community members. Our goal is meaningful, individualized participation rather than completion. So, as I think a number of you are either aware or attended, we had the joy of celebrating the beginning of summer with a kickoff event at Central Library featuring activities for all ages in different areas of the building. And on the terrace, there was the very popular Al's Bubble Funhouse Party, which is a new experience for us as a system that was introduced to us by the team at Landa Library. Al's Funhouse also made several visits to branch libraries throughout the summer, and we appreciate Andrea Sanchez-Muniz speaking at this joy-filled event. And I know that these bubbles made their appearance in this year's budget presentation, so always fun to share that with council as well. So something that I don't have to go off the script as much on. So for adults this summer, our approach to summer this year, we very much did rely on those partnerships and cultivate those partnerships in order to provide some programs for adults in our community. So 2 of those are the Dig It series, which is the Bexar County Master Gardeners. That's a partnership we developed about a year and a half ago. And we've done different seasonal series on gardening. And so this is our 3rd series. We also had a new partnership come to us the spring of this year, which is the Talking Bees Roadshow, which is a presentation by Conrad Buffard, who is the owner and certified master beekeeper at Round Rock Honey. And so this was a program that was funded also generously through HEB through their Arctic is Our Future Sustainability initiative, and so he's going all around the state talking about bees, and it sounds like a really dry program, but it was phenomenal. He's a really engaging presenter, folks got to taste honey, which I think, sweetens the pot, literally. And so that was fantastic. And then the third series that we presented for adults was one developed by our staff, and those were 2 craft program options. And all of these options were available to both adults in general, but also older adults.
Quick question, is the Talking Bees program, I'm going to ask you this since I know you know the answer to it.
Yep.
Because it's in the adults category. Is the Talking Bees an ongoing program, or was that a one-time, summer series?
So because it's funded through HEB, through Our Texas, Our Future, and it's also funded by the Healthy Hive Foundation, which is the charitable offshoot of the company Me and the Bees Lemonade, which was founded by a young woman out of Austin who actually learned at Round Rock Honey. So her sort of charitable arm, leg, whatever, is the Healthy Hive Foundation. So it just kind of depends on, we would definitely host him back in a heartbeat. He's the kind of presenter where he calls me and says, hey, I can do some presentations next week, can we come? And I'm like, yes, we will take you wherever, because they've really generated some buzz. And me getting to use a lot of cheesy puns. Anyway, so if HEB funds another round, we will take him back. He is going all throughout the state. So he's gone to Houston, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth. So he's taking it all over the state. So we will take him back in a heartbeat, but it just depends on that funding. But yeah, they're excellent. So those were our sort of interactive programs, and then for sort of a fun thing that we offer for each age group. I'm sure you all saw, or hopefully, and you received one at the May board meeting. Our giveaway for adults this summer was this mini tote bag that was way more popular than even my group of adult services librarians who helped me plan summer. They suggested this as the giveaway for this year, and they're like, there's a really popular. I'm like, okay, sounds great. They were gone within about 2 weeks. So, but yes, so those were fantastic. Then, of course, for teens, which within the library is folks ages 13 to 18, and our approach to teen services is always that the activities are planned by teens with support with teen services librarians. So really, the teens are the ones deciding what we're going to do. Activities took place in person as well as online. Virtual participation continues to be substantial. And yes, the teen in the photo is holding a goat. That was the goat party at Central Library this year. And that was requested by teens, so teen services staff made it happen. For teens this summer, their giveaway item, as it's been for the last several years, was the t-shirt on the left, and again, something where the teens really are in charge of it. And so the design was created by Claire Meisler from the Parman branch, and then the designs on the buttons on the right. So teens submit artwork online, and then the artwork is voted on by other teens to select which ones is on the t-shirts and which ones are on the buttons. So teens had an opportunity to collect all of those buttons. And then for children, summer brings an opportunity for ramped up services to school-age children, ongoing early literacy activities, and featured guest performers and presenters. Our portfolio of summer partnerships included Musical Bridges Around the World, which brought a series of mariachi programs, which this is the one at Memorial, National Park Service, and the city's Parks and Recreation Department. Reading is still at the core of Summer with SAPL. In a shift from traditional summer reading programs, SAPL is among library systems leading the way in lowering barriers to recreational reading by offering children a free book at the beginning of their summer adventure. This summer, we gave 17,778 children a new book. Backstock from previous years and donations from the Texas Library Association added to the book's purchase with general fund and gifts from the DeJean Foundation and the Butler Endowment. When we talk about summertime reading, we often think about making sure children maintain or advance their reading skills as a basis for success in school. So, as a segue, let's talk about other ways we are supporting school success. In August, our communications team launched a back-to-school campaign through banners, our e-newsletters, social media, bookmarks, and media appearances. SAPL provides ongoing support for learners of all ages. With a donation from Whataburger, the library is providing branded pencil pouches with hand sanitizer, Post-it notes, and a nice pen for children's services librarians to offer to their school contacts. Homework kits for in-library use with items such as scissors, rulers, pencils, markers, and notebook and graph paper. And then a series of sessions to introduce children, parents, and teachers to specific library resources. Each library location, with the exceptions of Landa and San Pedro, is presenting one session on one of these resources throughout the school year. Sessions are designed, and these are our databases that we offer to support students. Sessions are designed to be appropriate for elementary and middle school students, their caregivers, and teachers. But we all know school, it's not all about homework. While we're excited to offer these tools for school with our community, we also want to acknowledge the importance of brain breaks, taking time to do something different, for fun, to connect socially, or learn something on your own terms. Our activities for children, teens, and adults continue year-round to ensure free access to out-of-school time connections with the library. So again, thank you for your time, and obviously you can tell that summer with SAPL and the programs we offer year-round really take a village. They take the support financially of the foundation, the general fund budget, as well as all of our staff at all of our locations, and our fantastic communications team. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I have a suggestion for next year. I know that when I previously worked here, one of the biggest questions we got every summer when we used to give T-shirts to everybody was, how can I buy a summer reading T-shirt? And given that the Friends are going to be supporting the library with merchandise, I would seriously suggest that we consider putting together some kind of a summer reading T-shirt for sale, because I personally would buy one of those owl T-shirts if I could get one. So thank you.
Scott and our communication team and John are noting your suggestion. Thanks, Beth. Thanks.
So thinking about the workshops that y'all provide and reaching out to students and teachers, I wonder if creating a session that was specifically targeted to teachers and how to use the library in your classroom would not only get a lot of adult participation, because technically they would fall under that category, but also increase the usage of educators in the library. Educators, they do things on their own time a lot of the time, so going to a free session at the library that they don't have to pay for, and they don't have to use one of their personal days or, you know, justify sub work or anything like that, you may actually get a decent amount of attendance between public schools, private schools, charter schools, the whole gambit of them.
For this suggestion, I will definitely make sure that that gets passed along to Crescencia. I mean, I know that the sessions are do include information for teachers, but doing something targeted at teachers could definitely make sense. So thank you.
I'll add on to that idea. I love the idea of the toolkit. The one slide back, sorry, I forgot the homework like supplies available at the library. I think that's just such a great thing to offer to young children, and even for, you know, parents who might be struggling to get some of the unique supplies that sometimes children are being asked to have access to, I think it would be wonderful for there to be communication so that they can share that in their classrooms too. So that I think can be really impactful. But overall, just wonderful job. The impact that Summer at SAPL has is more than just what you are able to summarize, with the number of attendees. I see it just like others at the branches when we go to these events. You can see how we're really enriching lives. So I want to commend you and the team for all of the work. And I have one question. When does planning for next year's summer start?
It already has. We met with the communications team. I don't remember when that was. I feel like shortly after, I think it was in August to start.
Planning for the next one.
I feel like it's a
wow.
year-round process. So it already has.
Okay, well, I was hoping you would get at least 2 weeks off, but
For sure.
no, congratulations, it's really excellent. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, next we will go to agenda item number 18, which is review and consider approval of the proposed meeting schedule for the Library Board of Trustees. There is a purple sheet in your packet. I think it's a purple sheet. Let me find it again. Yes, and that shows the proposed schedule. As you all know, we do try to get out into the community quite a bit as well. So, Edward, are you going to present? Okay, thank you.
First time here, so can y'all hear me okay? Yes, ma'am. Edward Mayberry, Executive Assistant. I'm here to discuss the proposed meeting schedule for fiscal year 2025. Back in fiscal year 2023, we resumed going to the branches, 4 branches a year. We did that again in 2024, and we plan to continue that for 2025. And our first branch will start in January. It's the Unicorn. I call it a Unicorn Carver because we're just there May 2023. However, we want to give you a transformation because it will be under construction pretty soon for the bond project. So you have a before, then an after. So we chose that for January. And then February will be at Central. March, Tobin and Oakwell. April, Central again. May, Pan American at V3. June, Central. And then the last one for the branches will be July 23rd at Guerra Library. August, September will always be at Central because September is our annual meeting. October, Central. And then December, our holiday reception is also at Central.
Actually, I'll entertain a motion to accept the schedule. Someone wants to make a motion?
Okay, so we're at September.
So if we do the motion first, then it will allow us to have discussion. Do you want to make a motion, Marcy?
I move that we accept the schedule as presented. Discussion?
Second. Okay, so we have a first from Marcy and a second from Paul. Well, I figured I just announced that the order, the rules of workshop is coming, so. Marcy, your question, what was it?
So this has come up every year, and it seems like I know we get off in November because of Thanksgiving, but then we put it on the 4th of December, and everybody has their holiday party on the 4th, is everybody.
Yeah.
Every single group I'm in. So I don't know why we can't change that. I mean, why can't we have it at the end? Why we can't have it the normal date in December? So I can accept
Because
this.
that would be Christmas week, usually.
Well,
December or
you're right,
November?
You're right. But can you make it the second week in December? I mean, that first December is.
The November date Thanksgiving, or is Thanksgiving the week before?
December, yeah, it's,
Thanksgiving will be that week, that Thursday before the 4th, December 4th.
I'm sorry, what is Thanksgiving date? I don't have my calendar with me. The 28th.
That's Thanksgiving?
Following Wednesday will be the board meeting on December 4th.
I'm open to the, I know you've given the feedback
Every
before, and I'm
single year,
open to
I
this.
complain about
Yeah,
this.
and I'm open
This
to
is really
discussion
hard
about it.
to
I just
have all
don't.
these groups, and everybody has their function on that Christmas party on that Wednesday for some reason. So
I'm open to feedback on it. I just don't have a better suggestion, unfortunately, so.
I know the staff worked really hard to look at these dates and to find the slots that make sense.
Mhm.
You can't accommodate everybody's social schedules, but it's tough.
I wish there's something we could do, even make it on the Tuesday. There's no parties on Tuesday, they're all on Wednesday. Every party is on Wednesday, so I mean, I hate to ever, but it's, doesn't everybody have parties on Wednesday? That's the big party day for everybody, yeah. I mean, can we make it Tuesday, or do we have to have it on a Wednesday? I mean,
I don't think is there any guidelines? I'm gonna ask Jessica. Jessica, as a historian for.
Article 4 of the board's bylaws, meeting, section 1, states that regular meetings of the board shall be held each month on the fourth Wednesday beginning at 4:30 or on such other day and time as may be designated by the board. Action to change the date time must be publicly posted 72 hours in advance prior to any meeting, which will be held on the day time different from the day time listed above. So it is the board's ability to set the schedule as you see fit.
Well, I don't know. What about the week before Thanksgiving, which would be the third Wednesday instead?
that would be good. I mean, say Thanksgiving's the 28th.
Yeah.
The 20th would work for me. I don't care about the rest.
Jessica, excuse me, the way the bylaws read, it sounds like we would have to post our intention to change that date and maybe do it next month. Is that correct?
No, I think we're taking on action to approve the dates now. So if we change it tonight, it will be posted. It will already be posted, right?
Oh, I want to make a comment on the 27th that they were talking about of November. That with staff and anybody who's traveling to go someplace on Thanksgiving Day, which is the 28th, they will be leaving on that 27th.
I was suggesting the week before, the 20th. I think it's the 20th, yeah.
Are you proposing moving the December 4th to the February 21st?
20th. Or December 11th, right?
Yeah, that'd be good too. I prefer the 20th, I think, to keep December open. But
Yeah, I think December gets
happy with
very
11th.
difficult.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's just saying that an action item, it would need to be an action item to change the date, a posted action item, essentially, which I think fits in this.
Well, I think we are now discussing it, so when we take action, we would adjust it, and I don't think any other changes made. That's how we include the December 4th date,
no.
yeah, on an ongoing basis.
Just to Beth's
yeah.
question about the 72 hours, it's just saying it would need to be an action item, that's all.
That's
So
like
we're
if you're
essentially amending the motion right now.
Yeah, if we were to agree to that, yeah. I'd like to hear from others, though, too, that haven't spoken up yet about the suggestion. Okay. Okay, Mary Ann? I'm going to awkwardly call on everyone, make sure their voice is heard. Andrea?
I am fine either way, so.
I wouldn't be able to do either because I'm leaving, I'll be out of town for 2
Okay. The 4th and the 20th both don't
No,
work.
no, for the 20th and the 23rd, but I'll be back for the 4th.
I guess the question then would be, rather than putting the staff on the spot right now, could we not take action on this now? Or actually, let me ask a different question. Perhaps we can accept the meeting notice, because it includes October, which we need. We need to take action today, I think, because of the October meeting. Could we take action on this today, and then could staff fairly quickly give us feedback on the suggestion? And then if it is, staff is amenable to the 20th, November 20th as an alternate date, could we come back and amend?
I mean, I think we could give feedback now. Because it's so early, I mean, it's so early, we can make arrangements for whatever, makes sense for you.
So you could make the 20th work?
I think we could make either of those two dates work. Yep.
Okay, well, let's try it. I'm normally like pause before breaking from long-standing tradition, but Marcy is right that she has raised this numerous times. I know Paul has been the chair many times, so let's go forward with it. So would you amend your motion, Marcy, and to include the substitution of the December 4th date with the November 20th date, please?
I move to accept the schedule for the San Antonio Public Library Board of Trustees with amending the December 4th date to November the 20th.
Second.
Second with a first from Marcy and a second.
And then just to confirm, does that mean there would be no December meeting?
Which I think is great. Merry Christmas.
And if anyone's missing it, we can do something else in December at a local coffee shop. Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Great job, Marcy, advocating for yourself. I love that. Okay. Next we have agenda item number 20, which is receiving an update. Thank you. On approved fiscal year 2025 operating budget. Oh, yes, we do. Thank you. I apologize. Item number 19 is review and consider approval of the proposed San Antonio Public Library's holiday closure schedule, and that is also in your packet.
And it's blue.
And it's blue. Thank you. I was excited to see that the in-service days are included in here, the quarterly in-service days that we have.
Pleasure of introducing our proposed holiday and closure schedule for fiscal year 25. And I wanted to give a little bit of background about this and how we came to this proposed schedule. So each year we bring this to the board for approval in September following the budget adoption. The library has a slightly different closure schedule than the City of San Antonio's schedule due to the fact that we're offering public service 7 days a week. And so our goal is to balance our users' needs with our employees' needs and keep the libraries open as much as possible for public use. So how we come to our proposed schedule is first we consider the City of San Antonio closures and holidays and look at those against the library schedule. And this year was a little bit easier because there were no weekend holidays identified in the city schedule like last year. So our proposal this year includes the same number of full-day closures as fiscal year 24, which is 17. The differences to the COSA's closure schedule from what we're proposing includes the winter holidays and our staff development days, including the in-service days. So the city is closing for 4 days during the winter holidays, and what we're proposing is that the library be closed 2 of those days and open 2 of the days. So the ones that we would like to close on are December 26th and December 31st. So that means we would be closed for 3 days around Christmas, open for 4 days, and then closed for 2 days for New Year's. And we take staff feedback very seriously, and we tried our best to incorporate everything that we've heard over the last year. So, for example, we have had staff ask if we could have an in-service in December because it's hard for staff to all get together for a holiday gathering. So we have an in-service on December 18th. We wanted to make sure that our in-service days are approximately quarterly, and that we're limiting the number of closures we have in a row. So that was a little bit difficult with Fiesta being in May this year. We also have had the feedback that all of our in-service days have fallen on Fridays, and that there are less staff working on Fridays traditionally, so we're gonna propose that we have one on a Wednesday this year and try that so that more staff can participate without having to adjust their schedules. And the Wednesday that was chosen is also the December one, and it's during our story time break so that we're not affecting public programming. We have one proposed for the end of July, which we thought might be nice to have an end of summer celebration time for staff to be together. And then because of the generosity of the Friends, we are going to have a staff day next year, and we're proposing that be at the end of September. So we vetted this with managers of various branches and units at Central. We made sure that we got feedback from public and support services, including facilities. Sometimes they are able to do some work when we're closed, so we wanted their input. We brought this to senior management team, we received feedback, and then we incorporated all of that feedback into what we're proposing for you today. Are there any questions?
I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed holiday and closure schedule for fiscal year 2025.
I'll motion to approve the proposed San Antonio Public Library holiday and closure schedule for fiscal year 2025.
I'll second.
From Andrea and a second from Paul. And you had was there a question, Paul?
I just want to comment that I really appreciate and admire how thoughtful your process is and how much input you not only get but act upon. I mean, that's just something I admire is to how you guys conduct yourself to staff. I really appreciate it. So yeah, I'm in full support of this.
And I really like the all-staff day being in the end of September because it seems like there's not a lot of days, September and October, so, and I think that matches with our back-to-school kind of like busyness pattern too, so I think that's a great suggestion.
And if Gabby, the finance team haven't got it wrapped up by that day, it's too late anyway.
Sorry, Gabby.
Always got it wrapped up, she's ready. Any other comments or questions?
I have a question. I noticed on the schedule that was sent out in our packet that there are several, like 3 days where staff are not getting paid time off. Can you explain that, why that's?
Sure. So 2 of those are those winter closures that the city has designated, and it is up to COSA whether they are paid holidays or not. And so that's the other reason why instead of closing the libraries for 4 days, we choose 2 so that we're not impacting the staff as much as possible. And we intend to allow for schedule adjustments and having skeleton teams during that week because we are slower, and that should allow for people who want to make up the time or who want to take leave to be able to do those things. And the third one is Easter, which because it's a Sunday is not a paid holiday.
Thank you. And then you may not have the answer to this. Why is Fiesta in May this year? Okay.
Easter.
Okay, I don't think, we can't take on why Fiesta is a certain date, so we can't. Yeah.
But Easter's March 31st this year.
I'm sorry, Beth. We can't continue to have a conversation with John during this open agenda item. I understand your concern completely, but we can't change the date of Fiesta anyway as it pertains to this holiday. So are there any other questions or comments before we take a vote?
Sorry, I was looking at the wrong schedule.
That's okay. All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. The vote passes. And next we have agenda number 20, receive an update on approved fiscal year 2025 library operating and capital budget.
So I will make this super brief because I think you all have this memorized by now. But the budget was approved by City Council on September 19th. So this is hot off the presses, really. And everything remained very much the same as we've discussed before. So we've really listed everything on the slide, so in the interest of your time, just let me know if you have any questions. But these are the improvements that were made to our budget. It's a 2.1% increase over last year. And our revenue budget does include recognition of the ILA with Bexar County for a fee of $3.5 million. So that was approved in the budget approval, as well as the contract document was also approved as part of the budget ordinance. And then this is a listing of the capital projects, including the deferred maintenance projects. So this also remained the same as what was presented to you previously, with these projects being funded for fiscal 2025. So I'll just pause if you have any questions at this point, but nothing changed.
Questions for Kathy? Okay, thank you. Great job again. I think it's been said, but I appreciate that. Next is agenda item number 21, receive an update regarding the executive recruitment for the library director. And do you have an update to provide on that in open session?
I think we're going to do it in executive session.
Then next we'll go into executive session. The Board of Trustees of the San Antonio Public Library will begin its executive session pursuant to Government Code Section 551071, Personal Matters, on the 25th day of September 2024 at 6:45 p.m. Thank you. The Board of Trustees of the San Antonio Public Library has completed its executive session on the 25th day of September 2024 at 7:26 p.m. The Board of Trustees of the San Antonio Public Library will now resume its open session. No action was taken. Next, we have agenda item number 22, election of the San Antonio Public Library Board of Trustees officers for fiscal year 2025 in accordance with the Library Board of Trustees bylaws. Andrea, you are the nominating committee chair.
Okay. Madam Chair, the nominating committee submits the following nominations. For Chair, Jaspreet Kaur. For Vice Chair, Joanne Harris. For Secretary, Judy Cruz. And for Treasurer, Andrea Sanchez Muniz.
Well, thank you, nominating committee. Thank you for your work, and we will take each position one at a time. For Chair, Jaspreet Kaur is nominated by the nominating committee. Are there any further nominations for Chair? Are there any further nominations? Okay, if not, nominations are closed. For Vice Chair, Joanne Harris is nominated by the nominating committee. Are there any further nominations for Vice Chair? Any further nominations? Okay, nominations are closed. For Secretary, Judy Cruz is nominated by the nominating committee. Are there any further nominations for Secretary? Are there any further nominations? Okay, nominations are closed. And for Treasurer, Andrea Sanchez Muniz is nominated by the nominating committee. Are there any further nominations for Treasurer? Are there any further nominations? Okay, nominations are closed. Are there any further nominations for any position? Then the nominating slate is closed. We'll do this vote one at a time, and Nicholas, I'll ask for your help in doing a roll call vote, please. As many are in favor of Jaspreet Kaur for chair.
Carla Gurgiolo. Joanne Harris. Josie Martinez is absent. Andrea Sanchez Muniz.
Aye.
Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas. Absent. Paul Stoll.
Aye.
Marcy Ince is absent. Beth Graham.
Aye.
Judy Cruz.
Aye.
Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
That motion passes.
As many are in favor of Joanne Harris for vice chair.
Carla Gurgiolo. Aye. Joanne Harris is absent. Josie Martinez is absent. Andrea Sanchez Muniz.
Aye.
Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Paul Stoll.
Aye.
Marcy Ince is absent. Beth Graham.
Aye.
Judy Cruz.
Aye.
Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye.
Motion passes.
As many are in favor of Judy Cruz for secretary.
Carla Gurgiolo.
Aye.
Joanne Harris is absent. Josie Martinez is absent. Andrea Sanchez Muniz.
Aye.
Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Paul Stoll.
Aye.
Marcy Ince is absent. Beth Graham.
Aye.
Cruz. Jaspreet Kaur.
Aye. And finally, as many are in favor of Andre Sanchez Muniz for treasurer.
Carla Gurgiolo.
Aye.
Joanne Harris is absent. Josie Martinez is absent. Andrea Sanchez Muniz.
Aye.
Marianne Valdez Hernandez.
Aye.
Fernanda Cardenas is absent. Paul Stahl. Marcy Ince is absent. Beth Graham.
Aye.
Judy Cruz.
Aye.
Preet Kaur.
Aye.
And pass.
Thank you. Those nominated have been elected. Congratulations, everyone, and thank you for your continued service. And that is our last agenda item. So I will entertain a motion for dismissal, adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Judy. A first from Judy and a second, I think, from Beth. No, Carla. Carla. Thank you, Carla.
Carla got her second.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your hard work, and have a good evening.